Good evening, Scott here, known as Cantaloupe to some online, and I'm bringing a video to you on a subject that's interesting to me. It might be of interest to you or someone you know, and I'll talk about differences between individuals. I've mentioned this quite a few times in my other videos, how people sometimes mistake equal opportunity for equality, where people aren't actually the same. Equality means you're the same or something is the same. Equality as an idea is too short. You need another piece to it to make sense, such as opportunity, or equal treatment, equal fairness, equal justice. But just equality by itself, out of context, is nonsense. It makes no sense, because what do you equal about? Rights? Okay, well, maybe that would make sense if you added that to it. So, in this vein, when people say equality, I want to give an example of how there's kind of an egregious error going around where people think that men are the same. They think all men have the same potential, unless they're disabled, clinically or categorically disabled in some way, they can be replaced, every single one of them, and they can rise to whatever station given the right circumstances and environment. But unfortunately, not everybody, not every individual is born with the same potential, the same hereditary talents, the same propensities for making music. So different people are differently equipped as far as hearing and creating music. And musical talent is a very famous example of how people often differ in terms of talent and skill and eventual success, unfortunately. And it's not fair. It's not saying that it is otherwise doesn't make it fair, doesn't make it accurate. And in this vein, so I want to talk about how men especially are sometimes assumed to be, they're given a little too much credit. I'll put it that way. That men are often given too much credit as far as being quality mates or potentially quality mates. And I don't mean to say that it's mostly about heredity. Not at all. It's very much across the board a randomization between nature versus nurture. It's heredity and environment, but you can't actually predict it. But what you can predict is that people are not going to be the same. And I guess my point is, at almost 3 minutes, I'm getting to the point. Not all men are supposed to be around women. I hate to say it. Some men, just for whatever reason, they can never figure it out. They admit to being confused, they admit to lacking sensitivity, and they demonstrate insensitivity. They demonstrate patterns of abuse, whether it's actual physical abuse or manipulation or just subtle meanness and deception, acting as if so that they can obtain a behavior, or manipulating the situation, lying about all kinds of stuff. And I don't want to give men ideas in this video how to do things, but these types of people, and it's more of a personality type than a type of person. I hate to say type of people, but you know what I mean. It's a personality trait. Unfortunately, they cannot ever have success, happiness, that is, with other people, and they don't belong around women. And unfortunately, it's so hard to say that. It's so awkward, I think, for women or men to accept and to admit that some men just don't belong in relationships, that all men end up bearing the burden of their crimes, of their sins, if you will. Maybe that makes sense. It's easier to say that male kind or mankind in relation to men is toxic or carries toxic behaviors and traits than to call out specific men or classes of men who really are the culprits, who really sincerely, genuinely are the culprits. And I think this is an opportunity. I go over in my videos a lot of opportunities for people to better understand things that are called low-hanging fruit, where it's with a minimal amount of effort you can improve a lot of people's lives potentially if they understood something, or if they connected ideas that make sense, that logically are connected. So here's one for you. Consider that a group of men might conspire to behave a certain way because of their own similar shortcomings, their commonality. That is, that they have collectively never figured out women. They can't figure out how to behave themselves and be healthy and honest and do it in a way that actually is successful with women. So they collectively decide that behavior patterns that include lying and backstabbing, betrayal, and manipulation, objectification, discrimination, like unhealthy misogyny and prejudgment towards women, minimizing the role that women should have. And you know all of these toxic traits, because especially if you're a woman, you've seen it. Every day you see it. Some kind of abuse or mistreatment, some kind of prejudgment. And these men get together, basically. And because all of them have this in common, the failure to do things right, the failure to legitimately and honestly act properly and be attractive as themselves for whatever reasons, and sometimes it is hereditary, unfortunately, at least partly, because these men all share this unfortunate toxic trait. They normalize it. They normalize all of this stuff. They say, well, men, we're going to defend each other. We're going to stand together on this. We're going to be firm about it. We're going to keep that bar low on behalf of, douchebag kind. Yes, and I mean it. On behalf of, the pirates, the stinky, drunk pirates who couldn't honestly give a shit less about women except for getting into their pants and adding notches to our bedpost. Because these men exist, and they are thick as thieves, as they say. Thick as thieves. And just like thieves, they find camaraderie together, and they are happy and content to communicate through channels that are not as obvious as they should be, as transparent as they should be, to keep women down, to keep them as property, to keep them as objectified sexual devices, for lack of a better way to say it. And this should all sound untoward, because absolutely it is. It's horribly toxic to women. It's a failure. And my real point at 7.5 minutes is not all men are the same. Okay? And it's easier, I think, for women to just lump all men into a category than to painstakingly differentiate them and to accept that some men are well above that standard, who don't struggle with treating women badly, who don't struggle with connecting and being sensitive and understanding that women are human beings first and foremost, who deserve just as good treatment as anybody. And if you have to sacrifice that for any reason, you're committing a very serious crime, no matter which direction it goes from there. Men who understand all this, and men who are ostracized by these other men who like to keep the bar low, the barrier to entry low, so that the union doesn't have an issue, so that the dregs of mankind can still get theirs, when in fact, as I'm saying here, they never should to begin with. There are men who just don't qualify. I hate to say it. There are men who just shouldn't, because they haven't figured it out. They don't deserve to figure it out, because they're bastards, many of them. Sometimes they're drunk, sometimes they're crazy, sometimes they're just born assholes, and it happens. And these men need to either figure it out or stay lonely. That's how nature intended it to be, I'm quite sure. So, my final request, final summary, final conclusion: if a woman doesn't want to be prejudged, if she doesn't like being discriminated against, if she doesn't like men being misogynistic, the very least that same woman can do is to try at least to differentiate between good guys and bad guys a little bit. And honestly, I think that many women just don't bother. It's much less, they've given up. From my perspective, a lot of them have just given up. And they say it's too hard to tell, and even the good guys pull some shit eventually, and it's easier to just stick with our sisterhood and throw y'all under the bus. And if it turns out that we were wrong, then we'll green light you later on. We're going to start by figuratively breaking your legs. We're going to make you earn it. We're going to make you prove your love, and this has been going on for a very long time, if you know what I'm talking about. We're going to make you, prove your worth, and we're just going to throw you into the pit, basically, with the rest. And if you look like you're better than them somehow, when we get around to it, we'll hoist you on up. maybe, if we like you. And they have their infrastructure at their disposal. I'm not trying to be negative. This is all accurate and true. They have their matriarchy and their very sturdy, agents of the law who primarily side with women, and I've seen this firsthand. When there's a dispute, all things being equal, the protective order goes in favor of the female. It goes in favor of the weaker party, which tends to unfortunately be the woman, and it's not always fair. So, speaking as a man who has gotten the shaft in the courtroom for stuff that I definitely didn't deserve, and who continues to do that, and I don't need to go into too much detail. If you want me to, it would be boring. It would be boring. Suffice to say, I have been, charged with things that were never remotely true. I've been acquitted in court. Not that it stood for much to actually be found innocent in a courtroom. It's just I've seen the worst of it, I think, and I'm frustrated. I'm frustrated that, unfortunately, the last thing I'll say is that I think that women aren't always necessarily willing to give what they expect in terms of a fair shake, a vote of confidence, and some kind of equal opportunity themselves. So I did have an example. I don't want this to be a super long video. So with all that in mind, that's a lot to think about. When I was growing up, I had friends. I had what you would call fraternal friends. That's male friends who we hung out a lot. We spent a lot of time together doing fun stuff, activities, going around, riding bikes, swimming, whatever. And it never occurred to me at the time that somebody was looking at those friendships, those relationships, with the question of, is it sexual? Okay, to get to the point, it was not. I want to be clear about that. Not once in my mind, in the entire time I grew up with all of my male friends, was it ever sexual. Did I ever want it to be? Was I ever curious about it? But at this point in my life, looking back, it makes sense that people were looking at it that way, like they're questioning whether it was, and they continue to question it. And it's because I think they are deeply, deeply confused by the differences I exhibit compared to other men. Okay, here's how it connects to the subject. People ask me all the time, yo, bro, you listen to, bands with famously gay singers. You listen to, techno music. You wear, a purple shirt on occasion. It's just like, okay, I want to just go on record and say that a gay man has sex with another man, first of all, and I've never done that. So it doesn't matter what music I listen to or how open-minded I am about fashion. Those aren't the metrics, yo. Okay, I'm going to remind everybody, that's not how you find a gay person. And in my case, you're asking me, once a week, are you a homosexual? No, I'm not. I'm still not. Next week, same answer. Following week, and all my friendships growing up, nothing homoerotic, nothing gay about it. Dudes just hanging out, having a good time, shooting pool, going to the lake, whatever. No homo. And if you are gay, I wish you the best, but not interested. Never will be. I'm not unclear about it. So feel free to keep asking. But really, honestly, please stop asking. Please stop asking. I'm not confused about it, and I'll just send you this video if you ask. So there you have it. Quit asking and understand that men are different. Some men are sensitive. Some men don't have a huge objection to wearing different kinds of clothing because they're comfortable. They're literally comfortable, and I'm comfortable in my own skin enough that I'm not threatened by it. Maybe that makes sense. I'm not threatened by insecurity, feelings of inferiority, or the speculation that I'm something different or untoward. So I listen to whatever kind of music I happen to like. I listen to Erasure. I listen to Queen. I listen to all these bands. What was that guy's name? George Michael. Okay, so he had this gigantic catalog, and David Bowie, Prince. I love all this music, and these guys had so much good music, and yeah, they were all flaming homosexuals. Not the point, okay? And I can see past that. My point is that I see past that to the good music, and that's what I'm listening to if and when I listen to it. But there's just tons of people who are so confused. They're like, "Oh, bro, you're listening to George Michael? You must be a homo, bro." Hey, you're sideways. I don't know how else to say it. I'm not gay, but I like his music, man. And you should too, okay? It's good-ass music. Get over yourselves. Find yourself. Be comfortable in your own skin so that you can unlock your limitations. Okay, I'm at 15 minutes. This is the longest video I've made in a long time. You are the victim of your own limitations. Just find yourself, man. I'm so sorry. I'm frustrated because people keep asking. Straight as an arrow. Please accept it. Thank you. Reach out with questions or comments down below.